If you're going to be taking a cruise on the Carnival Glory, let me tell you about some secret places on the ship that you might not find on your own. Some people spend a whole week on the Glory and never find all of these places. Let's start with jacuzzis. You'll probably find 7 of them on your own, but did you know that there's actually 8? There's the 2 at the aft pool, the 2 really obvious ones at the midship pool, one at the bottom of the water slide that tends to get taken over by kids, 2 way up high at the front of the ship on the Serenity deck, and then there's this hidden gem that almost nobody finds, so it's almost always empty. You can have it all to yourself. It's located in the gym, and the funny thing is that even if you're standing in the gym and you look through the glass and see this jacuzzi, you still might not be able to figure out how to get to it. To get to it, start at the main entrance to the spa and look for the doors to the men's locker room or the ladies' locker room, depending on your gender. Go through the locker room and then look for some somewhat hidden doors marked Whirlpool. Go through that first door, look for a second door marked Whirlpool, go through that, and you're there. This is one of the best hidden gems on the ship. Almost nobody ever finds it, so it's almost always empty and just waiting for you. Next, I want to tell you about some secret viewing areas up at the front of the ship on decks 6 and 7. Very few people find these secret viewing platforms, and it's too bad because the views up here are just about the best on the ship. If you're a cameraman, this is where you want to set up when the ship's coming in or out of port. To get to these secret viewing areas, take the forward elevators to deck 7 and then walk down the hallway to the very front of the ship. You'll see a door with a little window in it, and just beyond that another door with a window in it. Go through those 2 doors and you'll be on the secret viewing deck with a spectacular view of everything in front of the ship. There's a stairwell here that connects the secret decks on deck 7 and deck 6. And if you're wondering about that area at the very front of the ship down below, that's off limits to passengers. That's crew only. Next, a hidden restaurant that's hiding in plain sight with plenty of available tables, but it's only open at lunchtime. It's the Fish and Chips restaurant, and it's on deck 10, one level above the busy Lido Buffet. When you're near the sweet spot on the Lido Buffet, just look for that staircase on the left and come up to the Fish and Chips restaurant. Most people spend an entire week on Carnival Glory and never discover the Fish and Chips restaurant on deck 10. Here's another secret area on the Carnival Glory. It's a little viewing area on deck 3, close to the water, with plenty of little places to sit and relax. And it's also a great place when the ship pulls into port for you to look and see whether the ship is tied up yet, whether the gangway is out, and whether passengers are getting off the ship yet. To get to this location, just go to the lobby on deck 3 and look for the doors on either side of the ship. Now, a tip on how to get away from all the noise and craziness at the midship pool. There's a pool at the aft that's adults only, so you don't have any screaming kids, and the music plays very softly in the background. It's a really nice, mellow place, one of my favorite places on the entire ship. And the aft pool has something else going for it. It's not uncommon during a Caribbean cruise to hit some bad weather every now and then. The aft pool has a glass dome that can be slid closed, covering the entire aft pool area, making it a little slice of paradise during a storm. If you have any trouble finding an available lounger at the aft pool, just go 1 deck up to deck 10 for additional seating. As you can see with the dome slid open on a warm day in the Caribbean, it's a great place to be back at the aft pool. There's also a secret lounge on the Carnival Glory, tucked away down in deck 4, way out of the way. It's called the Ivory Club. Sometimes it's used for small group events or small intimate musical performances, but mostly it's unused. The interior design theme of the Ivory Club is elephants and ivory elephant tusks. And they even have a bar in the Ivory Club. And another secret place behind the bar, the Internet Cafe, is tucked away back here. You'd never find it unless you went looking for it. Now, I've been on 22 Carnival cruises, and on the first 21 I did not discover this next event. But on cruise 22, on the Carnival Glory, another passenger alerted me to this late-night, adults-only entertainment event called Quest. And as you can see from these pictures that I shot there, anything goes. Quest is a lot of fun. It's definitely adults only and not for the easily offended. It is part game show, part physical challenge, and what I liked about it is that while a lot of passengers participate in Quest on teams, you can also just sit in the room and watch, and that's what I did. You're not getting me up on stage doing some of this stuff, that's for sure. Quest happens late at night, usually around midnight. Watch for it in the fun times to find exactly what day it's going to happen on. If you've got kind of a raunchy sense of humor and like to have some good adults-only laughs, you should see Quest. Now for something much more mundane, laundry. Unlike some other cruise lines, Carnival does provide self-service laundry facilities on all of its ships. On some of the newer ships, the machines take sail and sign cards, but on the Conquest-class ships like the Carnival Glory, they take quarters. So bring a roll of quarters or go to the casino and buy a roll of quarters. One last thing. You'll probably almost certainly notice when you're in the atrium of the Carnival Glory that the colors in the ceiling change over time. But did you know that this same thing happens throughout the ship? Here on Deck 5, for example, if you stand and look at the ceiling long enough, you'll notice that the colors are changing here too. And also the lights outside the elevators and even inside the elevators, and many of the signs throughout the ship change color over time. Here's something you might not know about the Carnival Glory, and this also applies to other Conquest-class ships in the fleet. Some of the best cabins on board are not the most expensive cabins. I'm talking about the premium Vista balcony cabins that are at the aft end of the ship. And they have rooms that are a little bit bigger inside, and they have gigantic balconies on the outside, but because these cabins are not suites, they're not all that expensive. These cabins are at the back of the ship, and they wrap all the way around from the back to the side, giving you a gigantic balcony. And one of the nice things about it is that at any given part of the day, there's usually part of the balcony that's in sun and part in shade, since part of the balcony is in the back of the ship and part of it's on the side. These are great cabins, and when we're on the Conquest-class ships, this is the kind of cabin that we always get. On the Spirit-class ships in Carnival's fleet and on ships in other cruise lines' fleets, these corner balcony cabins are a lot more expensive because they're usually suites. But on the Carnival Conquest-class ships, they're not cheap, but they're actually quite affordable since they aren't suites. That's a look at some of the things about the Carnival Glory that you might not figure out on your own. I hope you've enjoyed it. Thanks for watching. I'm Jim Zim.